Well, hello there. This is your Lord God Octopus, Shadow Octopus 990, and I'm just doing a general video about the whole Melonie Mac grifting issue that has cropped up. From what I understand, Melonie Mac is a Christian grifter, to my mind at any rate, and she's decided to polarize and divide her audience on the issue of aesthetics and sex appeal in gaming. She was all in support of the very sexy and beautiful character Eve from the recently released Stellar Blade, which does look amazing. However, she changed the tune apparently with a small video she shared or someone shared on Twitter. Melonie was in fact a leftist in the gaming space around 6 to 8 years ago, and after being divorced from a husband who was apparently gay, she went into the right-wing gaming space and spoke against wokeness in gaming. She's previously had takes on Chris Redfield of Resident Evil fame being supportive of him being gay, and she was quite well in support of the 2018 release of Shadow of the Tomb Raider being the way it was depicted. Yet now she's done a full 180 on that matter. In 2019, Melonie Mac's channel was in dire straits and she ended up nearly fading into obscurity. However, a fellow YouTuber, The Quartering, came to her aid and helped her channel out. And if you know anything about The Quartering, you probably don't need much more elaboration on him. While I have no quarrel with anyone helping another out, I will have umbrage at someone defending another over a very bad take on something fairly benign. Melonie's take on the First Descendant is asinine. Since the First Descendant isn't terribly much of a Gooner game, the way a Gooner game would be presented is that it would have to be mainly or completely concerned with sex, sexuality, and sexual acts. In other words, a pornographic or erotic game. However, I have no problem with erotic games or erotica in general, though will forever maintain 50 Shades of Grey's complete arse. Melonie has lost many subs on this point that she made about the First Descendant, a third-person hero shooter similar to Warframe, but developed by a South Korean game studio named Nexon, known for creating popular mobile phone and some console games like Dragon Fighter, DNF Duel, and the first Berserker Kazan, which is presently going to come out this year, I assume. There was some footage she tweeted about regarding the character Luna, a descendant, one of the heroes you can play as in the game in the First Descendant, that is music and dance-based songstress. Luna is a fairly sexy female character who does battle dances to music played from her back-mounted speakers, and she acts as a squad-based damage amp and elemental amp. There have been a lot of videos on the internet of Luna and her somewhat sexy butt-shaking dance. One of these videos came to the attention of Melonie and she complained, calling a lot of gamers gooners, among other words. Melonie also labelled gamers as perverts, losers, degenerates, and even demons. Luna isn't all that sexualized in terms of perversity, or even real graphic depictions of sexual content. Really, some costumes the players could put Luna in are somewhat revealing, as shown in the short Twitter video I saw, but not at all very sexualized in nature. As for what players do with the cameras in the game to lovingly display Luna's assets, that's completely up to them. Melonie could play the game as one of the female characters in a far less revealing costume, or as a male character. However, some of the male characters are quite handsome, like K-pop idols in some cases. There's been a lot of conflict as of late about the nature of gaming and how characters are presented, what content is in games, and how political activism has invaded and infected gaming. Melonie Mac, John Delarose, whom I'll talk about later, as well as a few others have grifted off their audiences, pushing a political and religious agenda, which I will say has no place in games, right or left. Myself, I'm against both leftist DEI and wokeness and religious and far right-wing politics in gaming. I'm also against censorship in gaming, but I would have a caveat where kids should not play games with adult content in them. To the topic of John Delarose, he has stepped into the ring with his takes on the Gooner Gate and has come to the defense of Melonie Mac. He's a writer and a comic book publisher. He happens to be a right-wing, politically aligned YouTuber who creates right-wing aligned content while writing books and generally doing well in publishing books as well as comic books. Many have labelled John a grifter, especially in light of his own perversions being publicly shown on Twitter. He has shown himself to be a gooner himself, particularly over things like Pokemon and furries. Many of the people who have labelled John a hypocrite are quite correct in light of his Twitter feed. I will say this, never bloody post your likes publicly on Twitter if you're into sexy shit or weird sex shit and you happen to be an advocate against it in entertainment, like Vosh, but then we all know Vosh is a freak anyway. The footage I'm playing in the background is of Luna from the First Descendant, doing her particular battle dance. The creator of this footage is Illuminated. I'll put a link in the description. It is pertinent because Melonie had a knee-jerk reaction to the particular battle dance shown, but the footage shown on Twitter is quite different. Luna here in this footage is in default costume and showing mainly her dances to different types of music, each one granting buffs specific to Luna, and also score buffs for more critical damage chance, skill power damage, and MP recovery when you play her alone or as part of a squad. The clever part is it's a sexy and fun emote, but very useful. I played the First Descendant for a while myself. I quite liked it and enjoyed playing Luna. However, it is so far a fairly limited experience, but give it a year or more, and I think the First Descendant in a year or two will be a vastly different beast than the First Descendant at launch. I like sexy ladies in my games. I often main them in fighting games, and I often play my main three, Mai, Shiranui, Chun-Li, and Cammy. I don't think we need the whole pornography in main title games, because there are a plethora of adult-centered games out there on PC. Most people have a PC and they can go to various sites and online stores to purchase and play them. Will they be AAA level titles? No. Do we need AAA level pornographic or adult focused titles? No, not really. A bit of sexiness and titillation in games is perfectly fine for both sexes. I'm sorry for all those who are vastly different walks of life outside of what is quite normal and natural, but I don't imagine you'll have many outlets for your own particular experience in the mainstream sphere. You can't. It is not possible when you say less than 1 to 10% of any given population. The numbers will not support it. The woke agenda tried on your behalf and try to push it onto a largely mainstream normal audience. However, to fairly abysmal results. But that's the rub, isn't it? Try to push an agenda is a very damning and quite vicious thing to do, to inflict the wants and desires of the very few onto the many. I thought I would talk about this a little and put forward my opinion. My opinion these people are activists and politicos who want to push their agenda on the neutral sphere that is gaming. I would definitely not agree with wokeness and DEI practices in game development or any sphere of entertainment and media. I would not advocate for total right-wing or religious stuff either. I find both sides quite wrong and equally abhorrent for trying to control my entertainment. While I'm a normal Lord God Octopus and like a fair bit of normal stuff, I don't care what other people do or like in their own private lives. If we were to leave each other alone, maybe we'd be better off, but for some reason we can't manage that. We have to keep poking and prodding one another. Right versus left is such a stupid concept that does nothing for anybody. We waste time drawing battle lines, and for what? To gain some ground in a stupid political spat that will mean nothing in 100 or 1,000 years? I will never trust leftists or right-wingers. They will never have mine or your best interests at heart. All they have given a shit about is their own bullshit political movements and the money, influence and power they'll gain from maneuvering against each other. They got into the gaming space and fucked it all up, and I'll never forgive them. For my part, entertainment should always be neutral and never biased. Otherwise, we are just merely peddling propaganda. Much like a certain chief propagandist for a certain party we are all very familiar with. Funny how that works. Everyone on right and left abhors and decries the party of the red armband, yet tend to use their tactics in propagandizing a society. The other problem tends to be these grifters and liars who I assume work toward the will of the whatever crap political faction they think is the bee's knees. They are, in my opinion, nothing more than base and wretched liars who waste everyone's time and money. Much like Darkside Phil, but at least they are somewhat more entertaining, considering Phil is a crushing ball with no charm or personality. And that is my take on the whole Melonie Mac grifting issue. And of course, I am your Lord God Octopus, Shadow Octopus 990, and see you later.